proudly presented by no one. Enjoy, can't get enough of that ad-free stuff. Okay, so I see we dived into the wrong window, but that's fine, let's roll with this. We're back onto day 3 of the BM racing build. A bit delayed at my end, but life can get in the way sometimes. So let's see where we're at. I did grab a 3500 kV motor because I know we're going to be mounting that at some point. So let's just quickly have a look at where we are at. Not there, we should be around here. So I do remember doing that steering structure. So we are going to need this by the looks of it. That may be helpful. Going to need some tools. Oh, that's where that went. I was just madly looking around for parts and, oh sorry, tools, and now I remember where I put them all. So we're definitely going to need that. Where did this front steering assembly get to? This looks like it. So we're just going to make sure it's nice and smooth. May even tighten it up a bit depending on conditions. So from there, no. That's right, there's multiple different types of screws, which was annoying. Okay, so that screw had come loose. May have to Loctite that down the track, but not today, I think. Okay, that's moving. Good. Bit stiff, but that'll come loose slightly as we go along. Okay, so we've done all of this. And we're on to this. So we need to do that. Seems weird to have that then that. But whatever. Okay, so we need M2HRHs, M210s, M26s. Oh, I can already feel this is not going to be a long stream. M24, there's countersunk though. M26. This is the problem with stopping is, especially if you pack everything up, you've then got to unpack it and work out where everything is again. M24RH, M24RH. Leave you there because I'll need you later. Put you there. Now we're only going to need 2 of these, so let's tip them out. Put them on the table. Let's pocket 2 away. Make sure that's sealed. Perfect. Now we grab that and let's mount the motor. We're only going to mount it very, very loosely. There's a reason for that, and that's we're going to have to shuffle things around a bit. So, okay, there we go. Oops. Nice and loud for you listening on stream. Nice big bangs. Actually, let me line this up while I can eyeball it directly. Okay, good, those screws work. It's a bit worried that the screws might be a bit mismatched, but they seem like they're standard sizes. It's actually a bit of a pain to get the lighting up and going today. Can you see it on... Oh, maybe I've got to move that back. There we go. Please don't look behind the curtain. There is no one there. Okay. So just going to tighten that and we'll back that out later as required. So yeah, as I was saying, it took a little bit to get the lighting done today, and that's because I'm currently rebuilding one of my bikes. So I've got stuff all over the place at the moment. Okay, so I'm surprised it doesn't tell you to screw those down. Very surprised, in fact, but Let's have a look at this. How does that feel? Not too bad. Okay. So that's done. And now we go on to bearings, which is even weirder. They don't tell you to tighten it down unless there's an extra long screw. Still not here. Still not secured at this point. Or this point. Still nothing securing it. Oh, maybe that's the cross brace goes through there. And then you clamp down on the body. Yeah, look at that. Okay. So I can put that aside for now. So I went with a 3500 kV motor, which is pretty standard for my drift setups. I did actually grab a, what was it, 5500 right out of the box, but decided to go back to my standard speed. So a bit of extra power may be nice, but in most of the scenarios I drift under, it's probably going to be totally useless. And even when I'm driving around on the RCP track, 3500 is still enough power to do what I need to do. Bearings. Now none of these bearings appear to be sealed, they all appear to be open bearings. So those of you with pets, that may be an issue. But on the plus side, these should roll like crazy. So rather than spinning it on my finger, I normally just push in the center with one finger and then rotate with the other. And that normally gives me a good idea. For these bearings, I don't know if they're good or bad, actually, in all honesty. Oh, actually, sorry, I'm wrong. These are not fully open bearings. These are half-shielded bearings, which I don't know why half-shielded bearings are even a thing. I really can't see what the point of having half a shield is. Okay. So there's a bit of imperfection in the plastic, but the gear teeth at least look pretty good. That's really all we care about. So what do we need after that? I need a countersunk shaft. It's not going to be in there, but I'm going to need the helical gear and the 30-tooth spur gear. Now, the helical gear should be easy to spot. The 30-tooth may be a bit more difficult. I'm hoping these are numbered or labelled on the actual outside. And this is where good lighting really, really helps. Are these seriously not stamped? Oh wow, if they're not stamped, that's going to be really painful. Doesn't look like they're stamped. Oh wait, no, here we go. I'm not even going to try and strain my eyes to read that. This is exactly why I bought a magnifying glass. And even then it's difficult to read. I feel that could just be random scratches. I don't know how you're going to tell the difference between those. That is a real pain, unless there is something else in here that tells you which is which. So I need the helical shaft anyway, so let's try and locate that. Just look it up. Oh. Let's try another random one. How do you expect it? Okay, it is actually marked, but I've got no idea how to actually expect anyone to read these numbers. Like, even with a magnifying glass, I can't read that. So let's go. Can I? Is it going to work? No, it's not. Okay. I was really hoping I could just use a webcam to make that number visible. So I guess that leaves me to just literally counting the amount of teeth, which is just, I really hate doing this. So first let's see if it's even. The way to see if it's an even number of gears or odd is to look the same position at the top and the bottom and see if there's one in the V-notch. If you put a V-notch at the top, if there's a V-notch at the bottom, there's an even amount of teeth. If there is one of the teeth that lines up directly vertical, then you know it's an odd amount of an odd pinion or gears. I'm going to say that's odd, so that's good because we're looking for 31. Don't just screw that. So I'm trying to count. There's a little indentation I'm trying to count from, but I keep on skipping teeth. 1, 2. So that comes to about 26 or 27 teeth. So the good thing is that there is only one gear larger than that, so that should be 31. Yeah, we'll go with that one then. So normally as I count the teeth, I put them on the table from lowest to highest, and that seems to help a bit. Okay, so how do we build that? We're just going to do this really, really quickly and roughly. Oops. Actually, you know what? I'm going to start off with the pinion gear because it's really hard to get purchase on that. Now, I'm not going to put the ball bearings on first. The reason being is they should slide from one end regardless of which one you put on first. So, and that's a tight fit. Okay, maybe we will put this pinion gear on second. So rotate until it catches, then apply a bit of force. It sticks up under its own power, and then I can use the back of some tweezers to force that through. Oh wow, that's requiring quite a bit of force. And that's not even in properly. Wow, okay. I'm not particularly happy with this step. There we go, that feels better. And that's sitting flush, okay, cool. So now we can put in the bearings. So I need two 2.5s. I'd like to assume that all the bearings in here are the same. But even just eyeballing, I think there's 2 bearings stuck to here that look different anyway. So we're going to have to measure these up, unfortunately. Which I always hate having to do. Although we might be able to just tell by the inner diameter. Are these loose? Yeah, these are loose. Okay. So I know which bearings it is then, because there's only 2 bearings in that size in this package. So if they're rattling around on this metal pinion, or what are they calling it, countershaft, then there's no way it can be that bearing. Cool, you put those away. Oh yeah, my back's about to give out. Oh, I must have wrenched it a couple of moments ago. Okay, now so we have to get the bearing lined up here and make sure the flat sides match, because before when we tried to just rotate it into place it didn't catch how I thought it would. And I was lucky I didn't damage the plastic. It's probably a bit... You're not going to see any of this on camera, unfortunately, so you just have to listen to my blow-by-blow commentary, which is probably a good thing, because otherwise, if you saw how I'm doing this, I'd probably be embarrassing myself. Oh, adjust that so it's not so painful. And of course, drop the helical gear onto a black surface. It of course being also black, being very, very difficult to find. Okay, that's on. Now, because we know the bottom is flat, if we apply pressure to the top, that should just transfer through, and we don't have to worry about any plastics or anything being bent. Okay, there's no gap there, which is good. Oh. Yeah. Definitely wrenched my back rather badly. Okay. There we go. It's starting to look flat. There's a bit of excess plastic making this difficult. Okay, that's good. We'll tune that up later once we see what it fits into. Aha! Rear gearbox. Or diff housing, or I don't know what you'd call it actually. God, I love this plastic. So this uses some weird screws. But at least we know where this now goes. Okay, so there's a slight gap in this space here. Oh, I might need, you know what? I'm going to see if I can just quickly blow out those colors. Video for Linux. 1, 2. So we probably want to bring the brightness a tad down and the contrast. We want to go flattish, which will destroy skin tones, but that's fine. And desaturate lightly, which gives me the highlights on the plastic. So as you can see there, in fact, let's get something better to point with. As you can see, or you could see a moment ago, there's a slight, tiny indentation. Go into the middle, yeah, tiny indentation there, so about there in the middle. So either side of, if I can find it, the bearings on here have to be on either side of that. Come on, camera, focus. You can see all the dirt and grease on my hands and nicks from the bike work. I swear, like whenever I'm doing bike works, it's like a blood sacrifice. Right. So we're going to put this in that case. Actually, let's move this off screen and let's bring the instructions back. Yeah, we'll go with that view. So place that in. Does it sit firmly? It actually sits pretty firmly. The biggest problem we're going to have here, and I'm going to close and do a test fit, is just to see how much wobble the diff actually has and if it needs spaces. Now, if anything, this seems a bit too wide. So I don't think I am going to need any spaces here. And even when I'm squeezing it, there's quite a bit of... It's very, very easy to rotate that diff. So I'm going to say that's good. I kind of do like it when I don't have to do any spaces either side of the diff. So that's definitely a plus in my book. Okay. Then we put in this gear. And wow, that actually does rotate very, very smoothly. If I don't drop it, oh. Right, so let's put that back. Yeah, God, doing this in pain is not a good idea. So it's best to actually space the bearings apart before you place them down, but it's actually a lot trickier than you think. At least the bearings have some friction, so if you put them in place, they tend to stay there, which is definitely helping here. Bingo. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Now, is there anything else on the inside? No, there isn't. So we're going to close that up. And there are some interesting features on this gearbox I'm noticing. Things such as gear shafts and whatnot. Okay, so that rotates super smooth, even when I'm applying a lot of pressure to the outside. So I'm really happy with this so far. Now this is a solid axle. I didn't even notice that before, but yes, that's definitely a solid axle on that one. So that should be fairly nice for drifting. Oh, actually I did miss a bearing. Well, what do you know? There is a bearing that goes in the top there. That's why I always have to pay attention with these instructions. There's a bit too much going on this page, to be honest. If you look at the parts list down here, like that's a lot of things to keep track of. Doesn't seem like it, but I can assure you it is. And that'd be the second last of my M5 2.5 bearings. Very impressed with the fit and the finish of the plastics. So everything just fits perfectly, which is kind of nice. So they've definitely got their shrinkages and tolerances and everything under control. Yep, that squeezes tight. That rotates freely. A bit coarser this time, but that's fine. So we're going to start with the M24 countersunks because I'm pretty sure I grabbed them earlier. M24 countersunks. There we go. What's the time? So I think at most we're going to be going for another 40 minutes, and that's going to be my upper limit. So I'm going to see how much I can do in that time. Definitely not going to get it finished today, which is unfortunate. But at least this week I'm back on schedule. At least until the end of the week, and then I think I'm busy. So it's I really do miss. I don't like it when I have to take days off and miss streams like this. Although I don't know why the videos haven't been too popular as of late. So okay, so we squeeze everything together and then we put the screw through. Otherwise, we may get some issues with pieces butting together. So if you're having trouble and there's a gap or something along the main line, make sure you're squeezing it before you screw everything in. If you don't, you can actually damage the plastic. And the reason that damages the plastic is because when you're once you're fully screwed in, and it starts then cutting into the thread at the other end, you end up stripping the thread on the first piece of plastic you screwed into. And that may or may not be an issue, depending on how the chassis is designed. So not too much pressure there. And as usual, as you go, you twist and turn. Now I can feel that catching a bit, but I know from experience that as the car wears in, that'll clean itself up. And to be honest, it's not that bad. So we're now going to move on to this M210 countersunk. And I also need a M1.6. Grab those. Grab that. That's what I'm looking for. And we might need that. Is it the no, it's the M1.6 right hand. So I think that might be a grub screw. Oh, I was bang on, it was a grub screw. Might be one of those actually. God, I hope not, because that's a bunch of things that are all unlabeled. Okay, let's start with the M10. That goes through the top of the chassis, which is fairly well buttered together, but once again we're going to squeeze it just to make sure. The other thing is, if you don't squeeze everything before you start screwing in, is even if it's a small imperceptible gap, as you start screwing into the plastic, that'll actually widen more and more. And once you've done it the first time, you can't really fix up that screw hole anymore. The cut marks are in the wrong place basically, or offset, and it means that you basically have to strip out one side of the part for it to work properly. Okay, so that's good. Now these distinctly look like M164s. Because there's not really anything else with that type of screw head. So I'm going to measure these up and just confirm. It's definitely a 4. This is not the most precise 1.6. That isn't the most precise caliper, but it's good enough for my purposes. And for just distinguishing which part is which, it's more than adequate. So now this is weird, and it's even present in the image. So I'll show you what I mean in a sec, but I'm going to screw this in first. Squeeze it. Actually, back it out, then squeeze it. I was very, very close to screwing that up. Okay, so if you have a look at the picture, at that top hole where the M1.6 goes, you'll notice that it's got a chamfer on the end. So that's 45 degrees, but that doesn't have a 45-degree chamfer. I was expecting it to be a countersunk screw like this one, but I don't know why they've designed it like that. It seems a tad bit odd. And I'm getting a bit tighter now, but that's still working. Oh, this gets exciting very, very quickly. And wow, okay, progress starts to be made very, very, very quickly. So, where were we? Here we were. So we're going to need shims, we're going to need poles, we're going to need countersunk screws. We're going to need more of those tiny ones. So let's make sure we've actually got 2 of them, because I'm very, very interested in that. And honestly, I don't think I do. I think I've only got the one. So either I used the wrong screw, M16 right hand, yeah, I've got a feeling I might have used the wrong screw. 2 4s. Let's have a look around. There's not very many choices, especially for that type of head, so we may end up substituting that screw for something else later on. We'll see what happens. So we need this plastic block first, which is this here. And we need the rear arms, which are these 2. And we need some pins, which luckily I'm running very, very low on. So they're not pins. Those are threaded rods. Those are my pins. And let's just do a quick screw check while I'm at it. Cool. And let's also grab the shims I need. So I need, they're too big. They're too big. 2.5. 3, no, they're wrong. Grab your rod as well. So I'm pretty sure I need these ones. This is the M125 2.5 0.3s. Yep, we definitely need some of you. 2, 3. So here we go. 2, 3, 0.2. So you're close, but you're not quite what I'm looking for. So you're either in here or I've pulled you out already. And I'm going to assume I've probably pulled it out already without noticing it. Okay, so I think we're finally starting to hit issues with this build. I mean, they're close enough, that's the worst part. Let's double check here. Oh, they don't mention the spaces here. Okay, so we go through everything here. Just be 100% sure. There we go. In my own homegrown spaces I've got to the side there. So put that there. So I'm even just looking for a bag that's empty but labelled, and I'm not seeing one. Countersunk screws. Just check in here, which is my electronics, and gyro, and wheels. Nope. So I'm really hoping I didn't misplace a bag here. I guess the next check is we go through and check what does have a space and what doesn't, and see if we've missed something. Actually, I should have grabbed the oh, here, I've got them here, don't I? Okay, so they're the M6.3s. I haven't seen... So these are the ones I think should be used, which or may be the ones we want to use, which is a 2.5, 3.5, 0.2. We've also got the 6801s, which I assume are engine shims. 1, 2, 3. It's probably that. Maybe not. It's very, very hard to scan the entire image quickly. Okay, so this, let's work out what that does. That just bumps it back up and down. We'll get to that later. For now, let's just make some progress. So I need the 14 mils, or the 14 mil pins, which are the long ones. And put those short ones away so I don't accidentally lose them. And then we will insert that into the plastic so I don't lose them, even though they're fairly loose. So I found kind of two weird discrepancies. One in regards to the screws and the cup head, and now with the shims, which is not filling me with a lot of confidence. It's a good plastic end piece. Now we just need the ball caps. Yep, which from memory were part of this. Yep. So let's pop them off. In fact, let's snip them off. Just so we get it nice and flat, and so I don't make it go flying across the room. Now, this is one of the few parts where if you overcut it, it doesn't really make much of a difference. But I just let the ball rest on top of the partially closed pliers, and then cut there with an eye that we will be coming in now and putting it on the end here and then cleaning it all up. So with an eye too. There we go. That one's good. It's not too bad. Let's do the other side. It's going to put a sprue on the top, so I'm going to cut that off. Once again, this is where it's great to have studio lighting, because I can just hold it up to the studio light and very, very quickly see if there's excess. Yep. Oh, still a bit. Maybe I'll have to get the file out. Once you get these rear swing arms, I'm going to have to call it. So, luckily that's not, that's still a tiny bit away, but kind of annoyed that this is another short session. Okay, and that one looks good as well. Cool, let's pop that off in that case on either side. And then we'll get some of these white things on. And of course today's day I can't find my tweezers. So how many of these white things am I going to need? 2 and 1, so 6. So let's tip these all out. Got more than we need there, which is good. And we'll just put these on the end. It's going to be difficult without the tweezers. If I can pack them on top of each other and then just go through a couple at once. Yep, that seems to be the way to do it. So this is going to be tedious. So while you're at it, just fire up another YouTube video and watch that while I come back shortly when I'm done. Because this unfortunately is a raw video, unedited, or in some cases live if you're actually here at the moment. There we go, another one. Actually, it seems much easier to push against my finger than the table. So we might do that from now on. Slide that all the way down. Once again, a lot more difficult to do without my tweezers on board. Let's use my other tweezers. Oh, much easier. Oh, they're partially magnetized as well. That's helpful. Okay, so which direction does this need to be going? So the stop needs to be facing backwards. And how does that work? That must mean... What? That can't be right. There's no way to orientate that part in that direction. Oh no, I see, I'm silly. There we go, okay. So, just having a look at this, it can be a bit... I was trying to work out how to orientate that properly, and I kind of wish they made that knob and that little knob there a bit more distinct in shape, or different. Oh, this is going to be a very, very tight fit as well. So, put one of the white things on my finger. Force it down that way, which is actually pretty hard given that there's that extra plastic piece there now. So we'll force towards the tip of my finger. In fact, why don't we just cheat and do this upside down? Because if I can lever it onto the top, for one thing I can use my other hand, but maybe I'll be able to use the tweezers on this. So I hate these little white things. I've yet to find a design I'm happy with them, but at least they're a bit easier than the atomic setup. But wow, they're still painful to work with. Alright, that one's done. And we'll just put you onto there like so. And then force you through. And luckily got both of them at once. Okay, and just use what little nail I have left to push everything down. In fact, let's use the tweezers again because that worked really, really well. Find tweezers to be such a flexible item on so many fronts. So that goes like that. Then I need one small white thing on the top. And then somehow the black ball goes on the end, but I've got no idea how that manages to stay on. Because there's so little purchase for it. Okay. There we go. Bingo. Put one of these on. So we have a complete swing arm. Cool. Perfect. Okay, now we can plug these into here. Like so. And then these plug. How do these plug in? Oh, okay, yes, we've got a little hole there. Am I going to be able to screw that in later? Possibly. So here's an interesting thing, right? They're using the M164 round head here, but then look, they're using a rounded screw here. So the attention to detail is a bit all over the place. Question is, what do I do here? I think the correct answer to that is to look for more of these screws and see if. And there's I don't have that many. Maybe I have used the wrong screws in that case. So let's go through my screw list. M24s. And there we go. In fact, before I do that, I need to put those white screws, white spacers away before I lose them. I'm just going to pretend I got them in. Okay. Yeah, this is not looking particularly great. So where's that bag? Oh, here we go. So I've got a bag of unlabeled screws. And some of them are definitely longer than others. So we're going to look for these. So M163, M164. Okay, so I have screwed up. Either my caliper is the wrong dimensions and slightly out, or more likely the tolerances on the screws are absolutely huge. Or also possibly I measured everything incorrectly. One of those. So we're going to use the slightly longer screws from that bag, which do seem to have the right numbers, so maybe we are onto something here. Cool. So now we take 2 of those and we screw down to make the standoffs, which is weird because they don't look like they'll go in this hole. But is it threading through? Yes, it's threading through. Okay. It just looks like it doesn't fit. So we can go. We'll measure that up later. There's a big warning about using the correct depth, and I do want to understand more about that later. I'm pretty sure what happens is you end up with a misaligned gear mesh or something like that, or inadvertently put too much pressure on one of the shafts or something, can have the possibility of bending it. Okay, line that up using my finger. And then the plastic self-centers, which is nice. We're not going to be too accurate. We'll get the correct offset later. I think there's actually probably a better way than measuring 1 point whatever millimeters. In fact, I probably should have put more effort in making sure that's straight. I was really hoping that wouldn't happen, because that's a really hard piece to pick up. And with this chair, there's a real tendency to lose things down the back of it. And I've had to order more than 1 grub screw because of that. Actually, I was doing some work on the MX-01. So I've got a fully modded one that's doing some really nice hacking on it, making it even better, but inadvertently lost a circlip and don't have a replacement for it. So that's going to be one of my purchases in the future, is like 300 circlips. I don't know why people keep on using circlips. It's such a bad idea. It's just never worth the cost, or the cost savings. Okay. So first things first, are those arms loose? Yes, they're loose enough. Second of all, what spaces do we need and how do we get them in there? Yeah, you definitely need spaces by the looks of it. And this is actually a pretty bad design. So these pins are definitely not long enough. Maybe I used the wrong ones, but I'm actually kind of horrified at just how badly they are, how badly off they are. There should be way more purchase on these endpoints. Great, I hope that's not stuck. Where did I put those pins? It's not those. In fact, let's put this back while I've got the chance. Down. I'm going to put you back in there. I don't know if you came from that. I don't know if that part actually came from this kit, but at least I know where it is if I need to find it in the future. So let's grab one of these. So one of those black ball ends had a little bit of a burr on it, and I'm wondering if that's what's caught at the moment. So I'm just putting in a rod and then rotating it around just to see if I can find out what's causing that. It doesn't want to play ball. You could also use a screwdriver or something if you've got the right diameter for it, but don't particularly want to do that at the moment. Because I don't want to be shuffling through heads for that for the next 5 minutes. Okay, let's go a bit thinner. Where was I looking? Wasn't that? There it is. Okay, hopefully I've got that this time. No. Maybe. The problem is that if that's ruined, I've got no way to get that ball end out. And that's a horrible thought. So I want to get some sort of rod in there and see if I can just realign it or pull it out. No, I think I need something with a better grip. What do I have available? I'm missing so many tools. I've got no idea where I've put them. It's behind here. No, it isn't. Oh. There they are. I've stolen everything for the bike. This is why this stuff is so slow. So I had someone say, or ask me if I'd build a one of these cars for them. Unfortunately, that's a big no. It's not cost effective for me to do so, and it takes a lot of time and effort, and I don't really want to sell anything I put that much time and effort into. If anything, I'd be taking a significant pay cut by doing so. So it's not just the, it's not like it's $20 an hour and I only spend an hour or two. It's like, even if it was only $20, you're still looking at over $100 just to do the build. But my hourly rates that I normally charge are more than 10 times that. And my free time is very, very valuable, and that's why I charge so much for it. So while I'm not going to do the builds for people, if you do want to do builds for people, just post down in the comments and let it be known so that people can find you. And I may recommend you if people ever ask me again in the future. Because I think there is a market for it. It's just, for me personally, it's just not worth it. But I'm sure there's a lot of people out there at the moment who may have some time in their hands or enjoy doing this as a hobby and wouldn't mind. And there's people out there that wouldn't mind having it built for them. And if I can make those two people or two groups of people meet, I'd be very, very happy. Okay, so that's been realigned. Phew, that was a pain. That was a real pain. Okay, so I'm going to do the spaces on here, and I'm going to use those dodgy ones. So we're only going to change by 0.4 rather than 0.5. Oh wait, they actually use 2 of them, so that's 1 mil. So if I'm using 0.2, that means 5 a pop. How many did I get here? 6. Getting a bit worried. What screw goes with that? Hopefully something interesting. M26s. MG6 countersunks, yep. Which in the grand scheme of things, these are pretty tiny screws. I was expecting something larger. So what we're going to do is we're going to push them through the bottom. And then we are going to load up the spacers on top and then screw it into the chassis. Now, you have to do it on top of your finger because as soon as you put it onto the table, yeah. Once you put it on the table, you have the entire question of how do I lift it up. So actually, you know what a better thing to do is? And I have it around here somewhere. If I can find it again. I do have some blue tack, and this is where blue tack works really well. I suppose I could use magnets if I had to. God, how can I have everything go missing today? Oh, today's not my day. Indeed, it definitely does not seem to be my day today. Alright, we're just going to hard mode it. So the next trick you can do is put it onto something that's flexible, and then you can lever it in like that and then lift it up. I really kind of hate anything with spacers. I prefer adjustable things with screws rather than spacers, because spacers are always fiddly and easy to lose. Oh, you know what I could have also used? I do actually have some space. I put that spacer kit, didn't I? Oh well, if I have to reevaluate my decision, then I may do that. So we have to be... There's a specific order we have to reassemble everything in. First have to get the metal pins. Oh, that's come off already. The metal pins in, and then we have to screw the stuff in the back in. So I'm just going to try and feel our way in here. It's been good so far. Or not. This is going to be a very, very difficult exercise, unfortunately. Oh, you know why I've got to have the arms up? Because they have to go over the top of the drop down or the limiters. Why did I do that? Why did I do that? God, this is going to be incredibly difficult. Whoever designed this needs to be shot. Like, this is... They make it look simple on there, but the fact that these screws don't have anything to screw into and stay up, you have to be holding multiple places at once, and I can't see how you can easily slide that in. Actually, maybe you can. Maybe the image is kind of silly in that regard. Oh no, don't tell me that came off as well. There is too many spaces on this thing that are very, like, this is not just like, oh, this is annoying. This is like, this is approaching one of the more difficult ones I've had to do. And you know what? It's funny because this is the second time I've hit something in this where it's got a lot of simple parts, but the complexity of doing everything simultaneously is just really complex. So it looks simple on the surface and it's deceptive like that. And the instructions are really inadequate. That's the only thing I could say. Like, this would be helped along a lot by some guidance on assembly. It's not enough just to say this slides in here and this slides in there, but numbering on which order that should be done in, or perhaps even cutting some steps up. Like, there's a lot of parts on this step. I would have actually had this arm stuff completely separate to this part here. That's a bit nitpicky, however, it's not really required. But these rods for the rear suspension setup are definitely not long enough, that's for sure. They're about 1/2 mil too short. And it's causing issues. They should have more purchase and stay in on their own. Yeah, in fact, they don't actually grasp anymore. Okay. Oh. Tried to do this to relax from work, and that doesn't seem to be the case at the moment. I'll be glad when I'm done, I think, with this. Okay, that's staying in on its own. That's good. Now we can focus on this part, which means screws in the bottom. In fact, I'll just break out, I might just break out the kit. So 0.5, I've got 1, 2, and 3s. Let's chuck some 0.3s on there and see what happens. Now the other nice thing about these is the inner diameter is a better match for these screws. And so because of that, we should have a bit of an easier time with things moving around. And I think we'll use 3 of these, which will be closer to, so I was at 0.6 with those spacers I was using before, and this will just get us almost to the, what is it, they're on the 0.5, they'll get us to 1, because they've got 0.5 times 2. Yeah, that's a perfect fit. Okay. I mean, I suppose I could put a 1.0 on the top, sorry, 0.1 on the top, but let's see if it's actually required. Looking at the stream stats, I'm once again reminded at how bad a time this is to stream if you're looking for actual numbers. Okay, that's good. So we're going to grab those 3 and just leave them here for a sec. Now with this setup we should be able to hopefully just screw and slide everything in. Yep. Oh, this is dodgy. Oh, and it happened. One of the sides fell out. looking good. And make sure the arms are in on both sides, and then not. So that side is getting pulled out. In fact, they're both being pulled out. Okay, we're back to square one. No, this is not fun. Especially when I don't have my tweezers to do this either. So after we've got this working, I'm definitely finishing up, because this is infuriating. Like, this really kind of feels like it was designed purely in CAD. And not ever tested by hand. And I'm sure there's tricks to parts on how to build this, but why don't you have those parts written, or those tricks written down anywhere? Like, why wouldn't you put them down? And that was the other thing. Like, I actually had to build a PDF of the instructions for this car, and like, it was just available as a bunch of images on a Chinese file serving site, and like, that seemed pretty dodgy in itself. It's like using Dropbox or Google Drive. Like, I know people think that's acceptable, but I really don't. Just not professional. Really looks amateurish. I guess the closest equivalent for anyone in tech on the American side would be using Amazon S3. It doesn't necessarily seem bad on the surface, but I don't always want to have to be attached to the internet to build these things. Okay. Gonna try something very, very dodgy. Let's get them initially screwed in. May not actually work. Oh, everything seems to be holding. Maybe I got lucky. Well, one side's threading. That's good. The other side's threading. The question will be, will the swing arms pop out if I move them up and down? No? No, bingo. Okay, we did it. Oh. How annoying. Did not like that at all. Now, if I was going to tweak this a lot, and luckily the arms fall down reasonably well. They're just right on the limit. I could go back and fix that up. But you know what? Given how difficult that is, I don't think I want to do that. And one of my lights just turned off. So we're just going to even up the droop. Another half twist. And back the other way a quarter. There we go. That's nice and even. Okay. So do I want to do any of this? No. Thanks for coming. If you're watching this on YouTube, congrats that you've made it right to the end. I'll be doing more this week. Maybe Wednesday, maybe Friday, depends on how my week goes. But thanks for joining me, and I'll see you later.